All right, guys, we're going to do the Mod 1 exam review. I'm just going to hit a few things. This will be pretty short. Just a few things that you need to make sure you know how to do. Remember, this is chapters 1 through 6, so make sure you've read those chapters. It's going to be the best thing for you. I don't tell you answers. I tell you what to study. I tell you to make sure you know the material. You've already got the terminology review email sent out, so that should help. So now it's about what to focus your studying on. You need to know where the energy production occurs in the cell. You need to know your terms, lateral, medial, we talked about that. You need to know what the skin does. How does the integumentary system help us? How does it protect us? All that good stuff. You need to know what the transition from adult to childhood is, what that's called, what the different time frames are. So when are you an adolescent? When are you a toddler? When are you an infant? Those are all going to be important. You need to know the difference between carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. You got to know what the cell does. Remember when I was talking about the cell comes to the, what the red blood cell does. Comes by, grabs the oxygen from the lungs, runs out to the cells, drops that oxygen off, picks up the carbon dioxide, runs back to the lungs, and then we breathe it out. You need to remember that. You need to know good body mechanics, how to lift, how to appropriately protect your back. What's a good lifting technique? Definitely something that's important. Let's see what else. Who's in charge? Who has the ultimate responsibility for patient care? Some people might think it's the paramedic or the EMT, but there's somebody bigger who we get our protocols from. So make sure you know that. Make sure you know the responsibilities of that person. How about your primary responsibility as an EMT? The number one job is our safety first, then everybody else's, right? You need to know the difference between aerobic metabolism and anaerobic metabolism. And I don't like that I didn't get to talk about this. So aerobic metabolism is with oxygen. Oxygen comes into the cell, oxygen and glucose are needed. It's aerobic metabolism. It's our most efficient energy builder within the cell, okay? Oxygen, glucose come in, energy goes out. Energy in the form of what's called ATP. I don't want to get too in depth. Oxygen and glucose come in, energy come out. That's aerobic metabolism. When we don't have oxygen, we have a backup system. The body is magnificent, has backup systems. It goes into anaerobic metabolism. Anaerobic metabolism works without oxygen, anaerobic, without oxygen. And so instead, it uses some glucose. It produces very low amounts of energy, but it does give us some. And there's some very negative byproducts. So just be aware, we're going to put out lactic acid and some unhealthy things. So know the difference between aerobic metabolism and anaerobic metabolism. Know why we need red blood cells, okay? Remember what the red blood cell does. If we're bleeding all those out, how are they going to work? How are we going to get oxygen from the lungs to the cells if we don't have enough red blood cells running around? You do need to know about the 911 system, the difference between like enhanced 911 and regular 911. You need to know the legal terms that I talked about in some of those online chapters. Absolutely important. This is one I'm going to give you because I don't like it. So anybody who watches the video gets this one right. If you're going to check the pulse of a patient with an injury to the forearm. I'm sorry, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, wrong one. I will give you that one in a second. Stand by. Let's keep going. You need to know your bones, your anatomy, what your long bones are, which bones are which, where your pulses are, where we check different pulses at. What is the type of, what percent of oxygen am I breathing right now? That's an important one to know. You need to know what shock is. We talked about that. What's another word for shock? What is that? You need to know what ATP is. So the whole aerobic metabolism, glucose comes in, oxygen comes in. It is what coming out? It's ATP. You need to know that. You need to know the difference between express consent and implied consent. You need to know where blood comes into the heart, what type of blood comes into the heart, what type of blood comes out of the heart. Okay, so be aware of that. Remember the way the heart works. The veins return blood to the heart. The arteries send blood away. That whole deal. We talked about that. Like I said, those time frame stages. What is an infant? What is a toddler? What is an adolescent? You need to know that stuff. Trying to find one question in here for sure that I know is a trick question, or a tricky question, I should say, about inferior, superior. I know it's kind of annoying. Let me see if I can't find it. Because I don't like the way it's worded. Here it is. The wrist is blank to the elbow. Telling you right now, so if you watch the video, here's a benefit. You could put the wrist is inferior to the elbow. It's below the elbow, but the correct answer per the test, the wrist is distal to the elbow, farther from the core. It's farther from the core compared to the elbow. Okay. That's about it for this review. Very quick. Really focus on those terms that I gave you in the email. Focus on the things I just told you about, and you will do pretty well. Make sure you read your chapters, guys. It's very important. I hope that this helps. Most chapters, these might be a little more in depth, but we don't have too much crazy stuff on this.